Anthony Edge from Edge Academy here in San Diego. We're now on our 11th haircut out of 14, and we just wanted to share with you a haircut from our Polaroid collection. It's always nice to go back, to go forward. We can't wait to launch our brand new collection soon for 2020, but we just wanted to share with you some of our previous collections. So this is a haircut which was very popular and still is very popular for short little haircuts, really designed for somebody who has short hair and curly or naturally curly or a wavy texture. Okay, so we came up with a haircut called the alternate layers or alternate layers. This is the kind of the look what we're going to be taking inspiration from. It's basically alternate layers through the top area and then creating more like a wedge feeling underneath. All right, so that's how we're going to approach it. It's literally got kind of two disconnected panels in there, and then all the top is kind of a few more disconnections, but we'll talk about it when we get there. So we really want to focus on literally mapping out the sections first. The mapping out the section is just literally working with a zigzag horseshoe section. Okay, so let's just show you the haircut, the sectioning pattern. So starting from the recession area high, you're literally going up, down, and you're basically creating like a zigzag all the way around the curvature of the head. All right, you do exactly the same on the opposite side. So you're going up and down randomly, and then you just clip out the top. Okay, and then literally we're going to start on the sides. Okay, so we're going to start on the sides with this haircut. All right, we want to instead of working vertical and having something quite soft, we wanted to build up more weight. So how do you build up more weight within graduation is working more of a horizontal line. So working something like this is kind of soft, then it gets stronger, and then even stronger. Or another way of saying it's kind of soft and then very commercial and grown out, and then you can start to put in more of a weight line. Okay? So what we wanted to do, we wanted to put in more of a weight line, a little bit more of a wedgy kind of feeling. So it sits kind of heavy, but then the top falls over the top to create more softness. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So we're literally working, creating a little bit more of a wedge. So we're going to work horizontal through the sides, going into a little bit more of a rounded shape through the back. So what we do, we put a little part in, ear to ear, okay, and then we just literally work on that front section first. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're literally going to work horizontal through the sides. We're going to go one finger's depth, so it is a little bit tedious, especially when you're working with kind of the shorter shapes already. So I'm just going to get a clip just to make sure we can try and keep this as clean as we can through here. So just horizontal, like so, and then we'll clip that out the way. And then to literally one finger's depth of elevation. And then we're going to take that really tight onto the client's skin, or in this case the dolly head, and then we're literally going to go on the base. And then the second section also, I want to keep it kind of high, so I'm going to go on the base again. So the first two sections are going to literally be on the base, coming from underneath, taking it kind of short, and then my third and final section is literally going to come down to the previous. Okay, so I see that guideline just underneath, and then I bring that down. So that's coming off the base, so it starts to build up graduation, starts to build up more weight and more shape within the shape, and that's what we wanted to do. So literally you've got one section, two sections, and then the third section just coming to that previous one. Okay, so we're happy with that. Okay, you can tidy up and all that details in a moment with that hairline. Okay, if you want to, you can do exactly the same on the opposite side. Okay, so make sure that you've got your perfect balance on both sides. So ear to ear. Okay, so just subdivide that out. Spin my mannequin round so you have a better angle. Okay, then you say like we go horizontal. Comb that down. Comb from underneath, on the base. Okay, keep that nice and clean and square. Second section on the base, so combing from underneath. See the guideline, it's on the base. And then our third section is coming down to that previous section. You could just lift that up. See your guideline. And you're bringing that down onto that stationary guide. So that means it's creating a little bit more weight, like we've said before. Okay. So you basically got 1, 2, and then the third one coming down to that previous. Okay, so now we go into the back section. Okay, so the back now, we're going to go into the back and we're literally going to go diagonals. Okay, so diagonal back section. Okay, so we're literally working more like a little wedge kind of feeling to it. We'll take this nice and tight. So, again, might need a little clip from the previous haircut. Just take that nice and tight through that underneath. And what we're going to do now, we're going to rotate. So you're going to rotate or pivot. So you're going to go 1, and then we're going to go 2, and then 3, and then all the rest of the hair above the occipital bone will start to come below the O bone. So we'll just rotate there. So second section now. So you've just basically gone 1. Second one will just go past the middle. So you're just going to rotate past that middle. Drop that out of the way. Come from underneath. See the guideline. Take that nice and tight underneath the occipital bone. And then third section will now come to the previous. So we start to build up a little bit more weight. Gets a little bit heavier. Just coming down onto that previous section. That little bit more weight, a little bit more shape within the back. And then we do exactly the same now on the opposite side. So, diagonal. Using the guideline at the front, bringing everything down into that hairline, and then, like I say, rotating into the middle now, comb from underneath, everything on that base. And then our third and fourth section will be coming down onto those previous section. So you start to build up more weight. Alright, so some more hair just sits down on there, gets heavier. It's getting heavier. And then all that hair basically is coming down onto that stationary guideline. Creating a little bit more, a little wedge coming through. So it's square through the sides and then literally just going rounded through the back. And then instead of just rounding too much, we just maintain that little bit more weight in the middle. So we create a little bit more of a wedgy feeling to it. Looks really nice on like a curly hair texture. Okay, so that's the underneath completed. Okay, so just to give you a recap of what we just did on that underneath, we just literally went finger short, horizontal, second section, third section comes down onto the second. We did exactly the same on the opposite side. So we start to build up a little bit more of a weight line there. Then we go behind the ear, we go diagonal back, we go really tight into the hairline. 1, 2, and then the third one comes down to the previous one, and then the fourth one also comes down to the previous. So then all of a sudden you're getting heavier weight line. All right, and then you can see when it starts to dry, then you can start, you see, you get a nice little V coming through. All right, so you get a build up of weight. So you've gone 1, 2, and then the 3 and the 4 comes down to this weight line. We don't completely go across the head to make it more rounded. We create more of a V shape, okay, like a little wedge. Do the same on the opposite side, and then that's finished. And what you could do now, you could literally just tidy up the hairline. In this case, we didn't go too short around the hairline, so we left it kind of natural. So we didn't, you know, like we left all this kind of perimeter nice and soft. Because we were working on a curlier hair texture, we kept it nice and soft all the way through. We didn't go in and, you know, sculpt it, or if I was working this on like maybe straighter hair, you could even introduce scissor over comb, bring out that weight line even more if you're necessary. But we were working on more of a curlier hair, so we just left it kind of soft and more lived in. All right, and then kind of the last section was the top. All right, and the top, we came up with this idea a few years ago just to have a bit of fun with curly hair. Okay, so it's really good technique now, the top for curly hair. Because the top's going to be left a little bit longer, we don't have to clip these sides out the way. If this top was going really, really short, you might need to put a couple of clips through below the horseshoe. Okay, in this case we don't need to. So what we're going to do now, we're literally just going to work horizontal through the top. So before we start cutting any of this, we're going to section it off. Each section is disconnected because it's called alternate layers or alternate layers. So we do, I grab a bit of hair like so, and I'll just twist it the opposite way like so. Okay, so I'll twist it to one side. Then I'll do another horizontal section. And what I'm doing here is taking the sections no more than 1 inch width. You've got to think about the density of the hair. All right, so every client's hair density is different. So if you're working on a finer texture of hair doing this technique, your sections need to not be too big. If you're working on thicker hair, you can get away with maybe taking a good inch each section. Just think about the density of the hair first. And then literally what you can see what I'm doing now is just literally horizontal, and then I'm just doing like twisting one way and twisting the other way, so it's going to be alternate. All right, so a little bit tedious if you're working behind the chair and you're like, okay, I want to do something different. This is probably a little bit tedious to do, but when it's something fresh and something like, wow, I've never done this before, that means you're learning. And also, if that means you're learning, that means you're showing your client something new. And when you do something new on a client, it keeps them, you know, coming back for more. Or they're like, wow, this is fresh, this is exciting. And, you know, I've never had a client who's loving a hairdresser coming to me for the first time. It's usually they're a bored client and they just want to have something fresh and something new. So, might be a little bit tedious, so sometimes it's nice if you're working with a product in the hair prior to this, like a leave-in conditioner or curl cream. That would be kind of nice to work in. So if I put my mannequin down, you'll be able to see a little bit more better there. So I've got one twist this way, and then the alternate, 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 and then I've just left the fringe out. Okay, so what we're going to do is literally create alternate layering. And what alternate layering is different lengths or different techniques through the top. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a technique which, instead of cutting them square, we're going to go short to long, okay, like that kind of idea. But then the opposite section will be going short to long this way. So that's how I'm going to create the alternate kind of feeling. So it's going to go like this all the way through the top. So there'll be one like this, one like that, one like this, one like that. And what will happen then, when it falls on curly hair, yeah, what you don't realise what you're doing, you're taking a corner away here, say, for example, yeah? Then the next one, you're maintaining length. The next one, you're taking length off. So what does that do on the side profile? It's going to create a zigzag. So if someone's got curly hair, what do they always say? I feel like I've got a shelf. I feel like I've got a mushroom. I feel like I've got a triangle haircut. So if I create like a zigzag kind of layering pattern, it's going to fall even softer. Okay? So I'll take you through the technique. Okay? So you lift the first section up. on the base, okay? And you literally take this side over to one side, and we're going to cut this side shorter. All right, so we're going to over direct, and we're going to knock off that corner. You're just going to point cut, take that nice and short. Okay, so taking all that length, it's disconnected from the underneath, so it's not connected from the underneath or anything, it's just all nice and choppy and disconnected. Okay, so that's your first section done, and then your second one now we go into, we do it the opposite way. So you over direct it this way. Okay, see the disconnection, it's disconnected, so it's going to fall over it. All right, and you're going to knock off that corner of weight. Okay, then you go the opposite way. Okay, if you wanted to, you could connect them. You know, like what that means is like however short the first one was on this side, you could do them all the same length. You could do them different lengths to create different textures. Okay, so you're just knocking off that corner. Okay, and then you do the opposite side. Opposite side now again, bringing that over and then knocking out. So what the trick is not to comb any of your previous section or any of the section prior, you know, to this. So you're just working within that one section what you want to do. So look, make sure you comb all that down like that, so you don't grab any of it. Okay. And then I've just left that fringe out. All right, I wanted to because then I didn't want to do an asymmetric. So what I've done is gone short to long, short to long, short to long, short to long. And then what I've done now, I've just left that kind of fringe out. Yeah, because my client in this case on the image, we didn't want to have an asymmetric fringe. But if you've got a client who says, look, I want it shorter to longer on my fringe, I want an asymmetric fringe, grab all that fringe, yeah, and then just bring it over and knock off that corner. And then what happens is you've got an asymmetric fringe. See? So then all of a sudden it's kind of nice if you've got a client who wears it over to one side, your last section is basically the side she wears it. All right, so remembering if you're going to go short to long, short to long, short to long, finish with the one which is the fringe. In this case, I just left it all out. All right, and then you shake all that out. All right, so in a way I've got 4 disconnections going on through that crown, 4 different lengths. And I shake that around and I can start to see the kind of the look, what we've gone for. And then we just literally broke up the fringe a little bit. And that's it really. You know, if you feel like you've got some long bits falling over and they're a little bit too long, this is where you get customized. So you would literally just twist it maybe, and then you could just literally cut into it. I would diffuse this maybe, diffuse it all. Get it nice and curly, get it nice and big, and then you could just literally just twist cut into the hair. That's a really nice technique for curly hair. You could just twisting the hair and then cutting into it. That's kind of nice. So it'd really break that up a little bit more. Or you could do a little bit of channel cutting if necessary. And what that is just like taking some weight out by just channeling the front if you want to make it a bit softer. Again, these are all kind of customizing techniques. With the fringe, what we wanted to do with the fringe when we did this, we just carved it out a little bit. So we did little J's, like little just broke up the little kind of J to the part and just carving out a few little pieces. We like the fringe a little bit heavier and a little bit more solid and a little bit more lived in. If I wanted the fringe more feathered, I would have gone the opposite way with my scissors. I would have gone in like this and maybe feathered this out and made it thinner. But I like it where it's left a little bit more lived in and a little bit chunkier in a way. All right. And then you move it around and you have a look at the profile, you look at the shape, see what you like, what you don't like. And you start to eliminate, and then once you blow dry this, you can start to see the actual shape all together. So then you can go from there, and then what you can do is literally break that up and go for it. So this is the haircut. Okay, so literally working with the alternate layers. All right, so it's kind of creating like a wedge underneath and then alternate layers through the top. So something a little bit fresh through the top. All right, so just to recap it, just to give you a little quick recap, it's just literally horizontal through the sides. Yeah, giving a little bit more weight, so this sits over. So that creating that little bit more weight through the side, this sits over, gives it a really nice shape. Then we go into the back, and then we just worked with a little rotating pivot, and then everything coming down into that little kind of little wedge. So you can see, get a little bit more of a little tail going on, or a little wedge kind of feeling going through. And then it's disconnected through the top, and that's where we created the alternate layers. So it's shorter to longer, shorter to longer, shorter to longer, shorter to longer, left the fringe out, and then we just broke it up. And then you literally just go in now, and you just literally just scrunch that. You just scrunch it through. And if you felt like you wanted to leave more length on the sides, you could do. You wanted to take it a little bit shorter through the top, you could do that as well. But it's a really kind of nice little modern shape for somebody who has curly hair. All right, so hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.